What's up, everybody? So you're wondering what it costs to live right here in Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit. Well, today I'm going to take you through a video that talks about all the costs of living, including utilities, housing, renting, groceries, and more. So stay tuned. I'm Eric Meldrum. I'm a local real estate agent with eXp right here in Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit. I'm bringing you new videos on what it's like to live, eat, sleep, breathe, and play right here in my city. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell so you're notified every time I release a new video, which is every single week. All right, guys, so here's the deal. I'm helping people just like you move to Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit every single day. I'm getting calls from people around the world interested in moving to Ann Arbor because of its explosive growth. So if you're somebody relocating or thinking about moving to the city, you gotta give me a call. Text me, email me, send me a DM. It doesn't matter how you get a hold of me. I know exactly what you'll need to make this move as smooth as possible. So you likely have a home that you need to sell in your current city as well. And communication through me and that agent is going to be critical throughout this process. So if you don't already have an agent, let me know. I'll put you in contact with one of the top agents in your area. And if you already do have an agent, that's okay too. We'll just need to talk to them to make sure they have a great marketing plan in place to sell your current home and get that sold with as little to no contingencies as possible. Okay, so the big question I get from a lot of people is, what does a home cost in Ann Arbor? And to answer that, we're gonna look at the median house cost. All right, so Ann Arbor has a median home cost of around $380,000. Relatively speaking to the US average, that's a little bit higher, but compared to some of the cities like San Francisco or New York, that's not too bad. Ann Arbor is ranked number 9 as one of the most expensive cities to live in. But when you're looking at the most expensive city being $1 million for a house, and you look at Ann Arbor at $380,000, it's a pretty big delta. So being number 9 on the list, but that's not to say that there isn't $1 million homes right here in Ann Arbor. So just like a lot of cities, it depends on where you're going for the home value. If you're gonna be closer to downtown Ann Arbor, you're gonna expect to pay a little bit more of a premium for your home. If you're willing to move outside of the city a little bit and not be walking distance or biking distance to downtown, then you're probably gonna be able to afford a lot more house for your buck. So let's take a look at some of those areas on a map. I'm gonna walk you through where some of the most expensive houses are and where you can find some really good deals on close proximity within the city and the suburbs. Okay guys, let's take a look at the map of Ann Arbor. We're gonna talk about some of the most expensive areas and where you can find some affordable housing as well. So just like any city, Ann Arbor has its little pockets. The city was established way back when, and some of these homes have been here for over 100 years. All right, so these are going to be some historical areas close to downtown. You're going to find a lot of those older homes, but they're also going to command a higher price just because of the proximity. So when you look at downtown Ann Arbor, you can really drop a pin in the middle of the city and put a radius around it. Probably anything like this, would be walking distance to downtown. You're going to have a premium in price. Once you start getting into some more of the established areas, like the Burns Park area, there's a northern Burns Park and a lower Burns Park. These areas are pretty predominant. These homes here range anywhere from $750,000 to $1.2 million. If you just go west a little bit, here in this area, this is considered the Arbor Hills subdivisions, and Google doesn't put these areas on here. I don't know why, but these are all subdivisions that we know within the city. And these are homes that were built in the turn of the century. You find a lot of mid-century moderns in Arbor Hills. These homes are going to be anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000, right, depending on the size and the location. And then if you go over to areas like Water Hill or Upper Water Hill, these homes were also built in the turn of the century. A lot of different architects came in and started doing some builds. You're going to find some unique houses there as well, which you can find some mid-century moderns and some different style architectures. But these are going to be anywhere from $400,000 to $700,000 up here, depending on, again, the size and the location. And then if you go just north, on the north side, you're going to be really close to the hospital. So this is actually a really nice location if you are working at the hospital. and you want to be within walking distance, these houses are hard to come by, but you could find a hidden gem in there and be within walking distance of not only downtown, but the hospital system and North Campus. Okay. Some of the more affordable areas, if you look in like the Garden View areas, Garden Homes, the Arbor View neighborhoods, any of these neighborhoods here, any of the neighborhoods around like the Dickens and the surrounding area, we're outside of that walkable distance of downtown. But these are going to be more of like your 2 to 3 bedroom ranch style homes, bungalows. They just started building those in the 50s and 60s as well, and into the 70s. But these are going to be really affordable, ranging anywhere from $350 to $450 to $500, depending on where you are. And the closer you get to the city, the more that price goes up. All right, so next up is rents. So if you're not going to be buying a home and you're thinking about renting, here's what you need to know about rent. Rent is also pretty high. Because of the housing market and because of the high demand for homes in the area, that leaves a lot of people pushed into renting. And those rental markets and prices have gone up over the years. So if you're looking at for like a 1-bedroom studio apartment, you're probably going to be paying around $1,000 to $1,200 a month. As you go up to a 1 to 2 bedroom, you're probably looking to more like $1,300 to $1,800 a month. And then when you get into 3 to 4 bedrooms or even renting a house, you're above $2,000. It's going to be anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, just depending on the area, the location, and what type of house or apartment you're looking to rent. And because Ann Arbor is a college town and is home to University of Michigan, we have thousands of students that are also looking to rent here. So rent's expected to be a little bit high, but the city is working on some affordable housing options. There's a lot of developers in the area that are building apartments and building condo complexes that are affordable to rent or to buy. All right, so what about utilities? So if you're gonna be living in the city and you're gonna be paying water, trash, sewer, electric, gas, you're probably looking at around $200 to $300 a month. But if you move outside of the city into some of the township areas, then you're going to be potentially in an area that is not connected to the city sewers or the city water, and you're going to be on well or septic. In that case, you're going to be saving a few bucks in your pocket, could be hundreds a year, because you have well and a septic field. But that doesn't mean that the cost of those things are gone. You still have to pay to get the septic tank emptied, and you still need to maintain your water. And if you have a well, you're gonna need to keep salt in there to keep the water soft, and that's a pretty minimal. You can probably buy a bag of salt for anywhere between $5 to $7, depending on where you go. If you go to Costco or Sam's Club, you can pick them up pretty cheap, and you can buy in bulk, so you don't have to go out every month and buy salt. All right, so everybody needs healthcare. So what does it cost healthcare-wise for your premiums here in Michigan? Well, most companies in Michigan actually cover the cost of healthcare. They don't cover 100%. Some companies cover 80%, 70%, and they do this through deductions out of your pay. But if you're on your own, compared to the national average of 100, Ann Arbor is actually 15% below that, making it 50% cheaper than most places in the US. I've even heard of some startup companies here in Ann Arbor offering to cover 100% of your healthcare. That's pretty cool if you ask me. All right, so let's talk about my favorite thing, which is food. And we're gonna talk about what it costs to grocery shop and what it costs to dine out. All right, so let's talk about grocery stores first. We have some national chains here, which is Kroger, Meijer, Target, Whole Foods. Those are all right here in the city. We even have Trader Joe's, which is actually my favorite. But we also have some local grocery stores here, just home to Michigan, like Plum Market or Bush's. So how do these compare to one another? Well, if you're shopping at one of the national grocery stores, you're expected to pay a little bit less. Some products are going to be cheaper, but I've also found that some of the produce isn't as fresh. Shopping at some of the local grocery stores like Bush's or Plum Market is a little bit more expensive. So I actually compared it one day. I went into Kroger with a grocery list and got everything on it and spent $115. I took that same list and went to Bush's next week, bought the same exact things, and spent about $130. So my grocery bill went up $15, but again, what I noticed was that some of the produce on there from Bush's was fresher than it was from Kroger, lasted a little bit longer. So in that case, I was happy paying the extra $15 to know my produce is gonna last and it tastes great. All right, so let's talk about the restaurants here in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's a little bit of a foodie town if you ask me. So Ann Arbor's got just about every type of restaurant you can choose. So if you're going out on the town for dinner for two, you're probably gonna pay somewhere around $30 a person. And that's including your meal and a cocktail or beer or wine. Down in the description below, I'm gonna put some of my favorite restaurants and favorite hotspots, so go ahead and check those out. Okay, so what about gas prices? Well, as we speak, while I'm shooting this, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you guys are all safe, but as it relates to the gas prices, I checked this morning and it was $1.05 at the local gas station. That's pretty low. Prior to the pandemic, we were averaging about $2.30 to $2.50 a gallon, and it fluctuates. You're probably gonna pay a little bit more if you're filling up in the city. You can go outside of the city. So if you just know where to fill up, you can save a few bucks here and there. So here's a little pro tip for you when you move to Ann Arbor. We don't have a Kroger right in Ann Arbor, but there are a number of Krogers outside of the city, and you can sign up for their fuel points. And every time you shop there for groceries, you're gonna get fuel points. During the initial days of the pandemic, my wife and I went crazy with grocery shopping. We stocked up, and we just figured, why not have enough food in the house for about a month? So we spent quite a bit on groceries, but that also got us some amazing fuel points. And the next time I filled up, I got 80 cents off a gallon. I almost paid near nothing for gas. All right, so getting around the city is pretty easy. It doesn't take a whole lot to find your way around Ann Arbor. Once you move to the city and get familiar with the main streets, you're pretty well off. But getting around the downtown area can be a little bit cumbersome, like I said, with parking. I did a whole other video on the pros and cons of living in Ann Arbor, and parking was one of the cons that I hate about Ann Arbor. But again, if you just know where to go and where not to go at certain times of the day, you'll be fine. So for the most part, transportation, you're gonna see a lot of people driving. You gotta remember, we're living in Michigan. That's home to the big three automakers. That's GM, Ford, and FCA. They make all the major cars here in the US. So I'd say we're pretty car obsessed here, but there are some alternative transportation modes that do get you around. But we do have other modes of transportation here. About 55% of the people do drive into the city, but what do those other people do? Well, we have public transit like buses, and we have carpools that people can ride share with. That's actually a pretty popular mode of transportation, if you're working downtown Ann Arbor, even your company might put on a carpool program to help employees get into the city. So just check those out. All right, and a good portion of the population do bike and walk as a mode of transportation. So let's look at the stats on those. As you can see, about 4.5% of the people here actually bike to work or to their place of business. The other 15% are walking. So why is walking so much higher than biking? Well, you gotta remember, we're home to the University of Michigan. So most people here don't own a car, and their commute to campus doesn't warrant them biking or driving, so they choose to walk. So let's look at a few minor costs that could add up from time to time, which is parking. If you're gonna be going downtown quite often and parking there, if you're working again, you're gonna be paying for parking, or your employer might have something. But for the most part, everywhere you go downtown Ann Arbor, you're gonna pay for either street parking or parking in a garage. So you're gonna expect to pay around $1.60 an hour if you're doing the street parking. If you find some lots, some are less expensive than others. I know there's some day lots that you can pay $4 flat and park there all day. It's just proximity to the downtown location that you're gonna sacrifice. So if you don't mind walking a little bit, it's not too bad. You can actually get from one side of the city to the other side in about a 20-minute walk. So we're not talking about a 30-minute huffer and puffer here. I mean, it's gonna be pretty easy. But if you're heading downtown on a Sunday, guess what? Parking is free. So enjoy the parking for free on Sunday. There's tons of things to do down there, but get there early because parking does fill up pretty quick. Okay guys, so there you have it. I wouldn't say that Ann Arbor is the most expensive city in Michigan, but if we're talking about coming from the East Coast or the West Coast, comparatively speaking, I think you're gonna be living pretty comfortable here in the city. And remember, if you're moving or relocating to Ann Arbor or Metro Detroit, give me a call, text, email me, hit me up on social media. I'm here to help. And for more videos on all things Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell so you're notified every time I release new videos. Okay guys, that's it for today. I had a blast walking you through the cost of living in Ann Arbor, and until next time, you guys take it easy.